Hey folks, Vivi Vinya here. Welcome to the grand finale! Earlier this month, I announced a whole bunch of content for the custom Super Smash Land game mode in Rivals of Aether during the Workshop 3 Prints presentation. In fact, many of the faces seen there may be quite familiar to longtime followers of mine. Joining this game mode are the bane of jaywalkers, Stopfany, and the dazzling duo, Jenna and June. These fighters, especially in the designs they're appearing in for this content, are based on their source design's FanPro appearances. Since I've already touched a little bit on FanPro's history in Miss Maribel's presentation, I'll keep this history section brief, and suggest you watch that video if you'd like to know a bit more. But the short of it is, FanPro was a niche art community on Tumblr with the intent of being a fandom built around characters with no official story. This took the form of over 2,000 character designs, most of which were community submitted, with the intent of being freely used for whatever purpose you'd like. Many original characters would come out of this, having initially existed from fan art of these designs, until diverging a bit and eventually gaining their own identity. FanPro was active from May 28, 2013, until it went on hiatus during 2017. And aside from my and some friends' similarly fated sister project, Com Project, as well as a few nods here and there, it's been pretty quiet. Usually at this point, I would transition to the new fighters, but there's one more surprise I have to share. I'm finally ready to reveal the third and final Super Smash Land FanPro fighter. Please take a look. These letters. I wonder. If it's a competition they want, for your sake, I'll give them one. I will return you to nothing. I will protect your tower. The iconic FanPro design, going here by simply Zero, is joining the fight. It's easy to tell that they're quite the unorthodox fighter, but I'd like to save their explanation for a bit later. First, I feel it's best to talk about the more specific history of these characters, rather than FanPro as a whole. These three fighters are all based on some of the earliest and most recognizable designs in the FanPro lineup. To start off, Stopfany is based on FanPro 0036, and Jenna and June are based on FanPro 0049. Both of these designs were made by Chi, who was the artist behind most of the earliest character designs that became incredibly iconic in FanPro's heyday, and I believe set the tone for the rest of FanPro's history to come. The fighter portrait art here actually mimics the source design's poses. I think they're quite dynamic, and really exude personality. 0036 is, in my experience, often the design that drags people into FanPro the most. They really stand out as a character design with a great theme, and was one of the more popular ones to draw. They're quite iconic, so representing them in some way when bringing up FanPro was a must. 0049, while also being a relatively popular design, undoubtedly for their uniqueness and adorability, was really more of a personal pick. They hold a special place for me because they were the first FanPro design I encountered, and from there introduced me to basically my entire online presence. It's sometimes mind-boggling to think that something as small as a Microsoft Paint doodle could have changed the course of my life so much. As for Zero, based unsurprisingly on design 0000, they're one of the most historically important FanPro designs. This was the first ever FanPro design made not by Chi, but instead Necronatural. 0000 was a massively popular design, being one of the largest sources of inspiration for people to come up with their own FanPro-centric headcanon lore, and set the stage for the community-submitted design structure that would be a staple of the community. As a note before we continue, I'd like to stress that the characters I make out of these designs are not inherently the designs themselves. These source designs are more of a springboard to make characters from. So, for instance, while the character Stompphany is based on the design 0036, these two are entirely different entities. For this project, I simply intentionally decided to stick very close to the original design. For one part, to talk about FanPro history, and for another that I'll explain later on. But now, I imagine after all this history talk, you're excited to see these characters in action. Well, let's get right into it. Starting off our look into the new fighters, here's Stompphany. On the surface, Stompphany might seem like a pretty standard all-arounder. She's a bit quick, with a lot of solid, close-range moves. Of course, most of them are carefully themed on her source design. Moves like down tilt, forward tilt, and up air utilize her iconic pointing, while moves like up tilt and down air are slight disjoints that take advantage of her prominent stop sign helmet. However, her standardness is thrown out the window as soon as her special move comes into play. The stop sign. Immediately, if you lay down the stage, you can use it as a platform, allowing you to extend vertical combos, and getting new ways to use her grounded options. However, the real power behind the sign is that an opponent who passes under it is breaking the law. With Stompphany's pure, unfiltered sense of justice, she gains the ability to briefly stop opponents for longer as she hits them. This is based on a glitch in Smash called the Stun Jacket, which opened up entirely new and much more deadly combo routes for characters that could use it, and it works the same here. Next up are Jenna and June. These twins essentially have, fittingly, two gimmicks. The first is evident from most of their moves. They can each attack on either side, sometimes differently. In a way, they have nearly twice the moveset of a regular fighter. Moves like their down tilt and two-part forward tilt have slightly different knockbacks, damages, and angles depending on which side you hit with. A very notable example also comes from down air, where one will kick downwards while the other punches upwards. Super Smash Line fighters don't normally have an aerial that hits directly above them without it being a very committal recovery move, so take advantage of this ability. As for their main gimmick, Special and Up Air utilize their connected hair as a tether. Special on the ground acts as a surprise tool to start combos from further than the average fighter range, tossing the opponent in your direction. However, these moves in the air will also cause the girls to fling themselves in the direction of the opponent, which typically gives you quite the positional advantage. You can also tether onto platforms and, with some restrictions, solid ground, giving you some potent movement options. Finally, we'll be talking about the third fighter that was just revealed today, Zero. They're unlike any conventional platform fighter character, in that while their combo potential is astronomical, they struggle getting any normal KO. The earliest KO percentage consistently is around 300%, using their powerful yet committal up air. So rather than killing off the stage, Zero uses a mechanic called Erasure to carefully dispose of opponents on stage. By landing enough hits on the opponent, they'll gain a circling zero above them. Landing more hits will gain more zeros, and when there are 3 available, being hit by a zero special attack will instantly KO the opponent. This special can also be cancelled into aerial moves, which opens up this move for added recovery options, as well as tricky movement even when Erasure isn't in full effect. Erasure will wear off over time, so it's best to go for brutal combos as early as possible, so you won't struggle with juggling the opponent in their higher percents. While they aren't great at close quarters combat, Zero has a lot of ranged options that help keep the opponents away, drag them in, or are great at quickly gaining Erasure. Zero has many projectiles in particular to help with this, and while projectile-focused fighters are quite unusual for this gameplay style, their bizarre game plan should help justify these options. Down tilt, for example, has Zero summon lances from the ground a ways away, though it will pop up closer if the move is used closer to the edge of a platform. It knocks opponents directly towards you, and by getting a good read on their directional influence, it can lead into incredible combos. Oh, and could you tell that I voice acted Zero? It was my first time trying something like this. Does this mean I can list voice acting as a skill now? Maybe not quite yet. There's one more new piece of content to talk about today, being the new stage arriving alongside these characters, the Super Smash Land version of Future in Sight. For those familiar with the original stage, it's actually entirely mechanically identical. Though I adjusted a lot of things to better fit the Game Boy aesthetic, all of the same gameplay is here. For those unfamiliar, this stage has a unique platform gimmick, being the eye platform that teleports around the stage in 5 different spots periodically. In the Super Smash Land gameplay style, this platform is even more of a game changer. As a bonus, since this gameplay style doesn't lend itself well to buddies, Sabella will occasionally pop up from these platforms, observe the fight on the tower, and jump back down to safety. As a side note, Sabella is based on FanPro 0003, who was also designed by Chi. Before we go, there's one more thing I need to say. This presentation's title, the grand finale, was more than just a pun. This is incredibly hard news for me to break. Being a creator for Rivals of Aether Workshop, much less one that people actually talk about and remember from time to time, is a direction I never thought my life would take. 5 unique completed characters, each with their own zany playstyle and personality. 8 stages, all of which give you a whole new way of enjoying the game, and even some more little things, like my final personal gift to the community today. Yes, after this release, I intend on retiring from Rivals Workshop. I'm sorry if this comes as a shock to some. My retirement is something I've been thinking about since the beginning of the year. I understand that I've made some pretty large promises towards the end here, and I apologize that, for the foreseeable future, I will not be able to fulfill these promises. Though this is my only regret. I'm glad and proud to have contributed my time, effort, and growth into Rivals Workshop. And as I continue onto my next steps in my life, I'll always look back fondly at my time here. Especially the incredible friends I was able to make on this journey, and, with any luck, keep for the rest of my life. I don't want to leave this presentation on a somber note, so I want to show you one more piece of FanPro history. Well, it's a bit more of my history, really, and the reason why I chose to end on this Smashland content. Because this, in truth, is the closing note on FanPro Fighter Project. At the very end of 2016, I had publicly announced that I wanted to work on a FanPro platform fighter game. With myself and 3 close friends, we started drawing out concepts, making movesets, and trying to outline some sort of game. Since I wanted to make something for FanPro fans, and I wanted to represent so many characters, I decided to model the gameplay after Super Smash Land's simplistic style. Of course, this project never came to fruition, and sort of faded away in 2017. But those ideas I had, they never really went away. When Rivals Workshop came around, and I saw its potential, I knew that I wanted to finally experiment with these ideas. And after 2 years, this is about as close to the original concept of FanPro Fighter Project that I could have made. It's not the form I expected it to take, but in a way, this game project that has been worked on since I was still in high school, until now, after I've graduated from college, finally exists. It's here, it's tangible, and to me, that's the most surreal, wonderful thing. FanPro Fighter Project was being made explicitly as a love letter to the community, and as a celebration of the designs that we made and shared. Though, as I worked more with these characters I had built off those designs, they started to take a shape of their own. I wanted to take this opportunity, as well, to give one last hurrah to the designs that inspired myself and so many others. The next time you see the named characters from me, they'll likely have changed appearance quite a bit, evolving for a world I'm excited for them to be a part of, and I'm excited to continue building. Now this, properly, is a goodbye. A goodbye to Rivals of Aether Workshop, a goodbye to FanPro Fighter Project, and a goodbye to this final, personal workshop presentation. I'm so grateful for all of you who chose to join me on this journey. Before I go, I would like to give a special thanks to a few people. First, I'd like to thank Vizard, who assisted me with much of Stephanie's complex coding. I will likely still be helping him wrap up his workshop journey as well, so please be sure to watch his future presentations if you'd like to hear a bit more from me. And of course, I have endless gratitude for Chi and Necronatural, who much to my surprise, had both actually found my FanPro tributes after all this time. Both of you made such inspirational designs, and I'm humbled that I could bring them to life in a way that you both seemed excited for. And on this point, happy 9th anniversary to FanPro as a whole. Well, that's about it. Although I'm putting a close on this part of my life, I want you to know that, really, my journey is only just beginning. Frankly, I don't think I'm even done with platform fighters yet. It'll probably be a bit different from here on, but I hope you can still stick around if you'd like. It's been a wonderful first year as VV Vinya, and I can only hope the next years will be even better. But until next time, I can only wish that you have fun. Goodbye!